listening to the Career Musician Podcast with creator and host, Nomad. With 20 plus years of experience in the music industry, Nomad has done just about everything to earn a living as a career musician. From being music director to celebrity artists, playing iconic arenas and stadiums, composing for film and TV, and even playing your average local club gigs, he's done it all. Nomad's mission is to empower musicians across the globe with strategies for a sustainable career while blasting stereotypes, and to bring you tried and true wisdom from his colleagues in this crazy business we call music.
Welcome to another episode of the Career Musician Podcast with guest Xander Smith and his good buddy Baron Grafft. Now, Xander, as a guitarist, he has played with, recorded, or written with Linda Perry, The Runaways, Dee Dee Ramone, Adam Lambert, Steve Perry, George Lynch, Lisa Loeb, and Herb Alpert. The list goes on from there. In addition, he's got one of those right and left brain things going on, so he's really good with logistics, and he loves managing things, so he started managing Herb Alpert's band. Yes, that's right, Herb Alpert of the famed A&M Records. Now, Baron Grafft is the guy who connected Xander and myself, and Baron is in sales. And I always say there's a lot of sales that goes into being a musician because basically you have to sell your skill set to the client. I love these words of wisdom by Xander. Be where you say you're going to be, when you say you're going to be there, and be on time with a good attitude. Look, that is the basic MO of any career musician. That's rule number one. We'll check out this great episode with Xander and Baron right here, the Career Musician Podcast. Xander Smith, welcome to Nomad's Place Studios for the Career Musician Podcast. Of course.
Thanks for having me.
Now, run. So I just made a faux pas and called you Xander Run.
That's okay. I basically am, right? That would be the way.
I like it. Seriously, I really appreciate it. And two things that I have to say right off the bat.
The Ramones would do that.
Oh, see? There you go. I have to say right off the bat, I could tell you were a career musician.
Why is that?
Well, because the way you answered my email.
Yeah.
And not only can I tell you were a career musician, but I could tell you were in some form of management. Uh-huh. Because you actually responded to each question discussion topic in my email.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, okay, this cat knows what he's doing.
Right.
You know, I love that.
Right.
And number two, when you came here today to the studio, you just have all your things together. You just, I could tell you're a road cat from past. I'm sure you're a studio cat too, but I could tell you have experience in both lanes. So.
Well, okay. I'm glad it shows.
I love it.
Took a lot of hard work.
I love it, right? Exactly.
Right.
And a lot of people take it for granted how much hard work it takes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, let's start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Tell me about yourself, where you're from. I'm sure as my listeners know, and you could tell, I'm an East Coaster.
You're an East Coaster, for sure. Excellent.
But tell me about you.
Okay, well, I'm a rarity. I'm born in Los Angeles, California.
Oh, man, you are.
The real deal.
You're an anomaly.
I'm a unicorn.
Yes.
Born, not only that, but born right there at the end of Pico in Santa Monica, California, right on the beach there.
Wow.
Yeah, so early 70s. Was born here, and then my parents moved us out to Phoenix, Arizona, when I was in grade school. And the reason that plays into the story is it wouldn't be that interesting, but it really did shape how quickly or slowly I got involved in the music. So in the early days, my mom's a hippie. There's records everywhere. I'm not a straight square kid that doesn't know anything about music till high school. I mean, day one, my mom is like, here's a guitar.
Yeah.
Here's Neil Young.
Yeah.
Let's get this going.
I bet you when you were in the womb, she was playing all kinds of stuff too. So.
Yeah, they only moved out to California from Detroit.
Okay.
Because of the mamas and papas and all that whole 60s stuff, all the hippie stuff. So
that's cool.
So it's all around. It's everywhere. My dad... gifted musician. My grandfather, who I was named after, professional musician in Austria and Bulgaria and all around Europe. I mean, like orchestra leader, had his own radio station. I found some sheet music when my dad passed. The whole deal.
That's cool.
Viola player.
That's really cool.
Grandmother concert pianist. So music's around everywhere.
Okay.
Right, and so that's that. But we move out of Southern California to Phoenix, which is a very different scene.
Totally.
Total culture shock for me as a kid. I've already got longish hair. I already know how to play Beatles songs and Dear Prudence by the time I'm 6, 7. And then I'm in Phoenix, which was interesting. So it kind of, in a weird way, sort of slowed me down in that. The only thing in Phoenix is heavy metal and country music. In fact, I just did a gig out in Phoenix about a month ago and turned on, and the same radio station is playing the same 10 songs that they were in 1982. I mean,
that's a trip, bro.
I turn on, it's Scorpions, it's Sammy Hagar, it's hard rock and heavy metal, right?
We can get into a whole side tangent because I wonder how the hell do we still have the same playlists for 40, 50 years or more? It's a little bizarre.
Well, yeah, they got their lane and they know their listenership and they don't want to veer from it. And everything is niche specific today with music. But anyway, so what happened is where maybe somebody on the coasts or the big cities might get introduced to a bigger spectrum of music earlier, kind of slowed me down. My dad's only listening to Weather Report. Okay, he's only listening to jazz and classical.
That's heavy, man.
Right? Doesn't like pop music at all. Not interested. My mom, hippie rock all day long. So I've got these influences in these records, but nobody knew. So I'm missing out on the things that are coming out in the early 80s. I'm totally missing out on new wave and punk rock and all this stuff. So I get, so my roots are basically classic rock. So I got all those chops. So when I pick up the guitar, I'm learning electric guitar off of Judas Priest. I'm listening to Beatles. I'm listening to all these classic rock bands, and I've got that DNA. But then when we move back here, none of my friends are listening to that at all. So I go into the closet as far as my classic rock roots. Because if you're living in L.A., okay, in the 80s, it's, it's Jane's Addiction, it's The Cure, it's the Smiths. It
was on the outer edge then. See, I don't know. I'm not from here.
Yeah, see.
Got you.
And I'm like, what? What's happening here? Yeah. So, and I got to go in the closet about my classic rock roots because my friends are like Depeche Mode, and they're like, "What do you mean you're listening to?"
But yeah, that is the new rock and roll MO, and that's what I just said to him. I'm like, wait a minute. First of all, I could tell that you're a career musician because you handled my email so nicely. He answered all of the discussion topics one by one. I was very impressed. Right. And then he just showed up, before on time, which I always say on time is late, early is on time, so.
Listen, if Keith Richards can quit smoking, you and I can show up on time to a podcast.
See, there you go.
I mean, if we want to stay in the game, we need every edge possible.
See that weight? There's so much weight in that statement you just made. Staying in the game. I mean, okay, we're going to get to that.
Yeah.
All right, so now you're talking about LA.
That's the beginning.
But you're talking about this punk post something.
What I'm saying is I don't know this is even happening.
Right, but it is intrinsically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Till I see a kid. I'm late in the game on this, although I got a deep knowledge of our parents' music and what we call classic rock, which was also big in, we'll say, the flyover states and stuff. But the peers I'm about to go up against for gigs are way ahead of me as far as alternative, what would be pre-alternative, new wave and punk rock music, which would shape the way, guitar playing it. So I'm sitting there and I'm learning Diver Down. I'm 11, 12, and I'm getting close.
Yeah.
Learning all that,
That wasn't an easy album because he used a lot of weird effects.
Yeah. He wasn't in keyboards yet.
Yep.
Underrated Van Halen album for that reason.
One of my faves.
I love
all
it.
the delay stuff he was doing. Come on.
People hate dancing in the streets,
That's
right?
one of the best.
But what's that music? What's happening?
What is that?
Okay, if you hate that song so much,
delay.
You tell me what's happening.
Exactly.
What the
Figure it out.
Yeah, figure it out. It's not a keyboard.
It's clever as hell, bro.
You're going to take a Motown song. It's crazy sounding.
So,
and David's of course he's doing that song.
But that's who he is.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But that's why they made such a great team.
I love that record.
It's me too, bro.
Okay.
See, give me some.
Look
See?
at that.
Look at that.
But living in Phoenix, I don't know that that's just the Diver Down symbol. That's all that is, that record.
It's just a diver. It's
drive around Redondo Beach, any surf, you see that sign everywhere. That's what they put.
You're not going to see it in Arizona.
You're not going to see it in Arizona. So I'm confused, right? Anyway, I get here with all these chops, and I pick up a guitar magazine, the one that was called Guitar, and I'm looking through it, and it's talking about Johnny Marr.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I don't know anything about Johnny Marr. There's no Smiths happening in Phoenix. It's the Red Rocker, man. It's Sammy Hagar all day long out there.
This is also an interesting difference between I would imagine, like being a musician at that time and
Yeah,
being
yeah.
a musician now is there's no internet.
Yeah, yeah.
Like there's
good point.
like your exposure was so much more limited geographically.
Right.
We had,
Just what was popular where you were
we
was
had,
big.
we had one kid, Mike Chavez,
Huh.
who showed up in 1984, okay, with Doc Martens, skinny Hispanic kid, shaves on the side, Mohawk-esque,
Oh, wow.
all in black, and he was the coolest, weirdest kid in school and a guitar player. And just to tell you how not hip we were, where I was living in Phoenix, he played us the first single off the new U2 record, which would be the Joshua Tree.
Oh,
Okay, in
come on.
1985.
Epic.
And it was With or Without You, which is about as tame, wonderful, but as tame as you get. We're not talking Sex Pistols here.
Right.
No.
But he pitched it as if this is going to change music. Check out, this is U2. They're from Ireland.
Well,
and we were like,
It did.
and it did, but it wasn't. If you were that kid,
Yeah.
in Chicago, New York, or L.A., you didn't know. Let me play you early Echo and the Bunnymen. Let me play you Roxy music. Let me play. You're not going to play. Check this out.
Right.
Even
No,
October, something early YouTube. But that's as out as we could even get. Was that
course.
one kid at it?
Shout out to Mike Chavez.
Yeah, Mike
were ahead of the
Chavez,
scene.
wherever he's at,
Yeah.
you guys keep up with him?
And by the way, yeah, I never saw him again, but he had a little band called Technical Difficulties, and his title song was I said, that sounds great, high guitar part. He wasn't even a U2 fan. You know who he was a fan of? The Alarm. Remember that band, The Alarm?
The Alarm, yeah.
From Wales, yeah,
dude.
who was a U2 sounding kind of band. Wow. But maybe, we don't know, maybe U2 was an Alarm sounding band, you know? You never know.
Oh, of course you don't. I was just going to say that. How
you
would
don't
you know?
Yeah, you don't
we
know.
don't know the others.
You only
Origins.
know what Tower gives you, man. That's what I'm saying.
At that time, Tower Records he's referring to. If you don't know, Google it, babies.
So so that's the deal. So when I get back here, so I'm reading this magazine with Johnny Marr. He's talking about the alternative guitar solo. He's talking about no hammer-ons, no this and that. Like, and
the alternative guitar solo. Okay.
the approach
Yeah.
to guitar playing. And I'm like, who is this guy? What do you mean there's no lead in this thing? What's going on? You know, later on to find out that, wow, I mean, the Smiths is really something. That's a band that's taking, I mean, other than the Doors, I don't know what other band is in its own lane where it's like you can't even describe what music they play. You've got this weird poet singer that's not really even singing, totally on top of this like mix of rockabilly and like, you know, I mean, the chord changes and the sounds and the effects that Johnny Marr is doing, it blew my mind. It totally changed me. Because when I held that up against Van Halen or Schenker or any of the heavy metal guys who unmistakably,
Schenker,
are amazing.
Yeah.
I was like, well, this is an interesting approach
Right.
to guitar.
Right. Talk about it.
So then I just had like,
Shift, yeah.
I just had this back and forth dilemma for really the rest of my musical career.
I love that.
It's probably why I am not known or more successful is because I lived in the gray area because I just can't stay in a lane. Because you need to. That's what we talked about. You want to,
man.
if you want to get known, you gotta commit. And you gotta stay in a lane, and you gotta just push at that.
Look,
You're this thing.
At mid-40s, I'm just now committing to that. I'm starting to buckle down and really commit to that. So, I mean, I'm just testifying to the fact that you're preaching over here. So okay.
I'm not making excuses. I get it now, and I'm happy that this happened.
But I think when we decide early on in our lives that we are going to pursue music as a career, most times the raw talent is there, and most times we love everything.
Yep.
So it really is hard to commit. It's not our fault, quote unquote. And again, I'm not, like you said, I'm not complaining. We're not trying to paint the picture of woe is us. Not that at all. But because your tastes were so diverse.
I think what happens from the guys I've talked to and gals that they've all said a similar thing to me, which is at the end of the day, if you want to be in show business, you need a paycheck, right? And it chooses you. So if you get signed or you get a gig playing guitar with someone or whatever it is, and it's paying your bills, which when you're 15, it's unthinkable.
Right.
You kind of just shut up and go with it.
Yeah, and especially when it happens, you're like so excited.
And it defines the lane. And that's why you see later on these side projects and stuff. If you talk to Johnny Marr, you'll know that he was a hard rock guy. And they, like me, and probably like some other people, that's why he had those chops disguised. But Joe Moss, who found Morrissey in a drag queen bar, wearing fruit on his head, doing lip syncing, right, in the late 70s up there in Manchester, he knew, and this guy put a lot of Manchester bands together. He looked at this guy and he's like, that guy's a star. Period. He just has a stage presence and he had Johnny Marr, who was listening to Slade and a lot of 70s hard rock bands, Sweet and all these bands.
Sweet and Slade, wow, good bands.
Who's seeing the Sex Pistols, he's seeing the Clash, he sees that movement going on, wants to be a part of it, but has the chops from before. And Joe Moss says, listen, you need a lead singer. I'm going to take you to meet this guy. And Johnny Marr walks in and says, no way.
Is that how this all transpired?
Are you kidding me? That's my lead singer. He says, he's a star, and you're 18, 19, whatever.
And you got the chops. Let's do it.
And we got Rough Trade interested, which is going to go upstream to Seymour Stein. So you're going to be a Sire band. You know what I mean? Like their trajectory was, a Sire was the Pretenders, Depeche Mode, Madonna. He was way ahead of the curve on all of these bands. So there were so many more.
And wouldn't that be post-punk / new wave?
It would be.
Like that whole term?
It would be. But even that was probably a bummer or not what Johnny Marr was shooting for, But
Johnny did really well. So.
But Johnny was like, all right, whatever. And then you're kind of like in this thing. But I'm telling you, if it left to his own devices, you might have seen different guitar players. In fact, Robert Smith married his high school sweetheart. Okay, he's been with her forever, and her brother was when The Cure went from 3 to like 4 or 5 guys. He was in the band for all the 80s, and he was a shredder. And it killed Robert Smith, but he couldn't kick him out of the band because his sister was his wife. Oh. And if you listen...
Can you imagine that, Baron?
If you listen to Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, which is really the album that kind of broke them, turned them into a potential arena band. People don't realize this, but The Cure played the Rose Bowl here when they did the Wish tour. And that's big.
That's huge.
That's huge for alternative bands on K-Rock.
That's so funny.
So if you listen to Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, and you listen to some of those songs and it's all alternative, I can show you which songs, as it's fading down, as we used to fade songs, right? You can hear, he sneaks in here, where he just...
A little beatla, huh?
He just couldn't get him out in time. It pokes through.
That's awesome. Okay, I feel like we need a reintroduction. First of all, I had no idea that you were such the music historian, so I can't wait to hear more. All right, so we have Xander Smith here, who's telling us his story, and this little tangent came about because I just asked you about where you're from and your influences, which is perfect because, again, as you stated earlier, you're all over the place. Your tastes are so diverse, so you really showed us that. I love that. Now, introducing Baron Grafft, sitting right next to you.
Of course.
And now so Baron, although is not a career musician,
not even a musician,
is probably one of the biggest music aficionados I know. And I know you from our daughters, and we've known each other. 8 years?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Like
now.
Years now. Burbank Dad's group over here.
Right.
Dad's group all around. Culver City, Burbank, it's all the same.
Yeah.
So now we know a little bit about you, Xander. Let's talk about how you guys crossed paths and met, and why you guys stayed so tight. Yeah.
So it's just a very weird confluence of events. We met through mutual friends. I found out he has a band. I'm really into, what he calls our parents' music. Like that's always been my music, right? And so when he and I start you're in a band, we start talking about music, and it just becomes this like, it just kind of feels like an ongoing 10-year conversation about music. Because even if we haven't seen each other for a while, one of us will call the other one or we'll run into each other, and it's oh, hey, I heard this. Hey, what about this? And we're not talking about like, oh, this album that just came out. It's always like, oh, hey, I heard this the other day. And we're talking about like a Led Zeppelin album from 40 years ago, or, you know, whatever it might be. One of my favorite tangents that we've gone on is we've got this very weird thing around the song Jesse's Girl by Rick Springfield.
I freaking love that song.
It's a crazy song.
Most classic guitar riffs ever.
And it just shows up out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
Like you Jesse's Girl is not like,
that's true.
For me, Jesse's Girl is not like life-changing. To me, there's nothing in that music that you go, wow, like what you're talking about, like, oh, well, music changed after that. That's not it. It just like occasionally resurfaces for you. And it's just like, oh yeah, Jesse, this is a good song. Oh,
it's still in rotation on the radio.
Everywhere.
You know, so,
XM shows up all the time.
Yes.
And so now, whenever we hear Jesse's Girl, just pick up the phone, give you a call. Hey, Universe wants me to call Xander.
Yeah.
I'm going to give Xander
like
a call.
that.
That's the real reason for
That's a
Jesse's Girl.
cool little, what do you call it? Alarm.
Yeah. Just, oh yeah, I need to connect
I
with
got to
him.
call my buddy,
Yeah.
I love that.
That said, I'll have something to say about whatever he calls me about.
Oh, gotcha.
So it started with,
right.
what do you think about Jesse's Girl?
Right.
Listen, I have a really low bar to make an impression on me about music. I mean, I love seeing anyone
Just
get out there
it.
and do it.
Yeah.
You don't have to have made it.
That's
you
right.
don't have to have had it, but you know.
I agree.
But even at a level of like Jesse's Girl, it made an impression. I remember, I'm old enough, seeing him do that song on American Bandstand.
Wow.
I remember that day. And they were a power trio. And gave him credit is whatever the hipsters want to say about Rick Springfield or whatever. I remember going, guy's a good guitar player.
Yeah.
And that for a trio, they're delivering right now.
For a trio to hold up that kind of a tune, because that's not a simple tune, it's complex.
I know.
But it sounds simple.
The average listener thinks he's just singing a silly song.
No, but there's so many little intricacies with the riffs and the harmonies and the counterpoint between the vocal and the riffs. So, I mean, something that you might not know as a musician, especially when you're playing an instrument and singing, I can't even imagine how drummers do it, but even guitar, to play certain rhythms, syncopated rhythms on guitar, and then sing a totally different rhythm.
Right.
That's one of the hardest things to learn.
Really
Wouldn't you
is.
agree? I mean, yeah.
Absolutely.
So a simple pop song like that, that's what's going on.
Yeah.
Right? For those who might not be.
Yes. So let's hear it for Rick.
Okay, all right. So all right. Detroit family, but you grew up here in LA, then you went to Arizona, you came back here. You originally are from Missouri.
Yeah.
And what brought you out west?
I moved out west in 2000. I was chasing an acting career that never really got off the ground.
Bro, you never told me that.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
Oh.
Yeah. That's what originally brought me out here. So I had a background in theater and tech theater, and I was thinking like, I'll go out there. It was kind of funny because I was deciding between New York and LA, and having lived through like 23 Missouri winters, I was like, I want nothing to do with the winter anymore.
Over it, yeah.
But it really was just like a total flip of the coin.
Wow.
I could have gone either direction, and I wound up coming out here, and it was like that didn't work out. But then, I mean, apologies to anybody listening in the flyover states, but when you grew up in rural
I'm
Missouri,
trying to buy a house, by the way.
and
Good
then
for you. You're smart. Me
and
too.
then you're in Los Angeles. It's just like
right.
it's like why would I go back?
Yeah.
It's kind of where
Oh, I get it.
And
But
now-
then we get to this age, we want to go back. Like, give me a flyover state.
man.
Yeah, well, there's things you start to miss.
Yeah,
Sure.
of course.
Yeah.
And quality of life and peacefulness and all
Sure,
those things.
sure.
And, I mean, let's face it, the hustle in LA is hard regardless.
Yeah.
No matter what line of work
No
you're
matter
in.
what you
it's
do.
just, it is
Listen,
what it is.
just driving over here.
Right.
That's all we talk about is traffic,
ugh.
right? No, but just driving over here from Culver City.
Don't tell me.
I checked it. It was a total breeze. It wasn't one stop.
Oh, wow.
It took 30 minutes, 25 minutes or something.
Wow, that's
from
unheard of.
Tito's Tacos to your door, okay? And when I got here, you shouldn't have to feel like it was Christmas morning, right?
When you
that I
go to
got here
a
without-
meeting, right?
at 12:30 in the afternoon with no traffic. I was like, it's amazing.
What just happened?
But I
Yeah.
almost wanted to get back on the freeway and just
Do some laps.
Do some laps before the cars came.
But I mean, just to be clear, and anybody listening to this that's not from Los Angeles, I want to make this point. Like, this is how I feel. Is like you always hear people complain about the traffic in LA because That's literally the only thing to complain about Los Angeles.
Okay,
the weather's amazing.
The weather is amazing, but since you
do
brought it
whatever
up,
you want to do.
You could do mountains, you could do skiing, you could do the beach, you could do this, you could do
all
that.
on the same
you
day
could
if
do
you want.
Hollywood, all on the same day. I agree.
If you want.
But let's talk about the big, giant pink elephant in the room because it's freaking me out.
Yeah.
The big one is on its way. And they say it's not a matter of when, it's a matter, not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
But where are you going to go that you're not going to have a natural disaster? I grew up with tornadoes. My sister lives in Florida. It's
no, my buddies
it's,
who live in Nashville just had a giant tornado. I get it.
There's something
I grew up with
everywhere.
hurricanes in Florida and New York. But New York really was just cold weather. I don't think there's any natural disasters.
Well,
on the
except
East
for when the
Coast,
power
Northeast.
grid goes down.
The power grid.
Yeah.
And the sea level rising in New York.
Okay.
There's
well, look,
always
we're
something.
destroying the planet, so I think, yeah, exactly.
There's
all
always
that's going to
something.
happen.
Listen, there's only one deciding factor for me of where I live. That's it. You
What's
ready?
that? Yeah.
It's mosquitoes.
Look, are you serious?
I just can't hang, and that's why I'm here. That's it. That's it. That's the only thing.
I like
I'll
the
sell
fact.
everything I have to live somewhere where there's no mosquitoes. Done.
I like
That's
the
it.
fact that that's your reason, but I also like the fact that the mosquitoes are here in LA, but not quite as bad as other places.
Not like anywhere else.
Not like Missouri.
Not like Missouri.
Right,
Not like
yeah.
anywhere.
You're right,
Anywhere.
you're right.
Minnesota, South.
Because we don't have that humidity.
Let me tell you.
Humidity, like swampy.
Let me tell you, we did a gig, one band, way back when. We were out in South Carolina. Got this great gig. It was on this military base, one of those where they pay for the whole thing. And I don't know why we were doing the show.
Oh, yeah,
But it
but
was
they're
a
fun.
one-off. We flew out there, and the guy lived off of a golf course. He had a huge ranch house with a big picture window.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone had their own bedroom. No hotel. It was so
gorgeous.
great. I always wake up early. It's
Yeah,
beautiful
you
outside.
go out for a run or a walk.
Huge lawn. I
Yeah.
saw the lawn chairs, and I was like, "What am I doing inside?" Guys are all passed out because musicians sleep till 1. And I walk out there. I'm getting in that lawn chair. I made a lemonade, and I sat down. And 10 minutes later, it was like Viet Cong everywhere.
just beat up.
And I was like, "What is happening right now?" And I was
Yeah.
like, ran back inside, bites everywhere. I'm like, "I'm done. That's it." And then I knew about mosquitoes. And
All
everyone's like, "Oh yeah, you want to hear about mosquitoes? Let me tell you about Minnesota.
You got a
Let me
point.
tell you about it." And I was like,
You got a point.
"That's it.
Yeah.
I'll even take ice and all
Yeah,
that
they're
stuff.
brutal. They're brutal.
Okay.
So I want to ask you a question though, because you mentioned something that kind of is something I've always kind of wondered about. Is you mentioned like at an early age you realize like, oh, I'm into music. I want to do this. So I've always been curious. Like, what is there a moment? Is there something that occurred for either one of you guys, or is it just like a feeling that develops? What was it that happened that made you go, not only like I like playing music, but like I'm really gonna go after this. I'm gonna go all chips in and push and try to make this happen.
I have a good analogy. I'll keep mine short. When did you find out that you liked girls? See, there's no one point that it happened. You said you didn't wake up one day and say, "Oh my God, I like girls," and then, "Oh my gosh, I have a crush on this one," and, "Oh my gosh, I'm infatuated with the opposite sex." It didn't happen just instantly. It's just something that kind of It's just inside. It
just felt like it was always
evolves
there.
and develops, and then all of a sudden you're more aware of it. That's how I can describe it.
Right.
I don't know if you would agree with that, but
Well, the answer is kind of two-part. One is the creative, and one is the business side, right? Right, because not
Great.
everybody that plays
That's right.
an instrument
Yeah, that's what I'm curious.
is
about.
on,
Oh, okay, that's different.
Is
Yeah.
on the John Bon Jovi train, right? Which is the like, I'm gonna sweep up studios. I'm gonna do everything I
Super
can.
successful.
Where whatever you tell me,
That's right.
play whatever style I need to do to
Yep.
make it
That's
to
right.
be a business,
That's
right?
right.
And that's fortunately or unfortunately my story, which is so it eclipsed my whole adult life early on. And it hit me early on. In the beginning, when I'm 6, 7, 8 years old, and my parents' friends are around, like I said, they're all hippies, and there's music everywhere all the time. And I hear certain things. I'm not sure which one, but I remember the White Album as being something, because you hear these early Beatles things, and I heard the White Album, and I knew right away it was more sophisticated, and there was a lot of territory being covered. And I picked up a 3/4 size guitar and figured out Dear Prudence. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. I could see all the colors here. And I had an affinity for it. And I was able to get closer to inside that music. I was like, okay, this is something that is special for me. I'm good at. Maybe it might be different sports, whatever, for someone else. Where I was like, okay, this could help kind of be part of my identity and also bring me pleasure. I really enjoy this thematically. Right. So I was a music head from the beginning. But I don't know why at 9, 10, I'm like, I should get a band together.
Yeah.
Right? And not a band together just as you say, just to get girls with it, but it just seemed like organizing and trying to put that into motion became important to me.
Yeah.
And
that's that gut intuition that you can't deny.
And let me tell you, if you were ever in a band with me until I grew up some, you're like, fucking asshole, leave me alone, dude. I just like, what's the deal? Where's the beer? Where's the beer coupons or whatever? Like, what are you so intense about? Because if you were
a workhorse, you have to be.
If you were in 5th grade with me, when we entered the contest, the talent contest,
we were winning.
And we were trying to decide between an REO song and Back in Black, which one we were going to play. Yeah. And the only reason you were in a band with me was because you kind of played drums in the marching band, and your brother owned a bass. Like I was making you. I was just, you're going to be this, you're going to be that, and we were having band practices at my house. Yeah, that was happening at 10. Yeah. 10 and 11. These guys were like, can we go play? Can we go ride motocross? Like, what is... you don't understand. Wait till we get there. Wait till we win this thing. You're going to thank me for this.
I used to do the same thing. We would rehearse in the garage or the basement up in New York. Every Saturday, we would do an 8-hour rehearsal. I'd make the guys bring a bagged lunch. Guys, we're not hanging... Guys, we're not hanging at the 7-Eleven or the pizza joint down the street. Bring a freaking bagged lunch. We got to work. I was the same way. So, look, you were a born leader. And I think that's the other part of it. That's where the business meets the creative, right? Mm-hmm. So, if you're a leader, right? If you're a born leader, I mean, and I don't mean to sound pompous at all. Sure. It's just, you have this quality in you that you can organize people and you can rally the troops and motivate them and really steer your team towards that goal, right? That unified goal.
What's interesting, though, is that I won't say a lot, but there are many kids that might have this tendency, right? But why is it's not a good mix if you're going to mix it with musicians and like creative types.
I think
they don't want to be bossed around. They don't want to be organized, right? I mean, if you're Reese Witherspoon, right, and you want to, and you're like speech and debate, you got it together, or you want to be you're like a young Kobe Bryant, or you want to be like on soccer or baseball. You're like, come on, guys, let's rally, let's do this. Yeah. It's set up to be organized, to be successful. Whereas, I mean, we're delinquents,
music
right?
Is not. You're right.
It's such a weird thing to be. So it's kind of it was kind of a bummer to be that guy. But at the same time, you got to do what you got to do.
That's right.
And as you start to see success, and it starts working out, and some kids drop off, but some kids jump on. They're like, wait a minute, you're getting paid for this? Or you're going to play the school dance? I want to play the school dance because all the girls care that I'm playing the school. I started, all of a sudden, I'm like, people started coming around me because they saw an opportunity.
Yeah. And I think when I was saying, and let me clarify, when I was saying about when did you find out you knew you liked the opposite sex or whatever it is, same sex or whomever, or you like somebody, I'm saying that same feeling that happens, that wasn't my motivation.
Right.
It's the same feeling. So it's the same thing that just kind of evolves over time.
Yeah. I always equate it as like, it doesn't feel like something I have to learn. Mm-hmm. It feels like something I just know how to do.
And I think that goes back to what you were saying.
Yeah. But I guess what I'm curious about is like, when is the moment where you're like, I'm going to do this as a job? Because, I would say right up there with like athlete, whatever else you want to put, act or whatever else you want to put out there. Like becoming an uber famous musician. Yeah. I mean, you're looking at the same kind of odds. If you put a group of 10-year-old kids together and you go, one of you is going to be you'd have to get a pretty big group of kids.
Right.
Well, I'll tell you about
You're right.
The one part of my plan that didn't work out in that I don't know if you want to call it denial or misinformed or whatever, but there were so few kids that were that committed that early on to like doing music that I thought it was a natural conclusion. I did not know that the odds were that bad.
Right.
I would read about the one that, like I said, the only reason I know about John Bon Jovi is everyone's like looking at whatever's going on with their career and how many records are selling, but I'm looking for myself in those articles. I'm looking for the fact that he wasn't born famous, or they didn't just discover him in Schweppes department store.
That's
like
right.
He's sweeping the studio
That's right.
in order to get free studio time in the middle of the night to do the demos so that he could play it for the guy that might give him a chance. That's the trajectory that the average kid,
That's right.
not average in his ambition or abilities, but average just in numbers, there's a trajectory there, the Horatio Alger thing, that it is possible.
Right.
You know, and so I just was like, oh, I'm the one weird kid in Phoenix that is like playing guitar all day long instead of running around and not chasing girls, but
Right,
like
and hanging out at the mall. And
I'm not messing
whatever,
around.
right,
That's
yeah.
what I'm doing. So any kid that does that, whatever they do, they're going to be practice. Carnegie Hall is definitely the end conclusion.
That's right.
You know, I didn't know that was like, you know, I guess that my story is a little bit like the beauty queen, right? That gets on the bus to LA, who's the most attractive prom queen, whatever, in school in Topeka.
And the flyover.
And then gets to LA and is just like, oh, you're blind?
Oh,
Wow.
I'm
good
not
for
the
you.
only one. It's me and
Yes.
10 other million.
Yeah. And when I got here and
Yeah.
and I'm in the dorm at UCLA,
Yeah.
and the girl, I'm like 17, and the girl that's 2 doors down from me all of a sudden comes out of her dorm room and she's head to toe like dressed like a video. Like I'm still 17 trying to figure out how to pass my classes. I'm a year ahead of myself. And she looks like a Motley Crue, like stilettos in the hair. I was like, what?
What's going on?
How are you like 10 years older than me? Like how did this even happen? She was like, oh, I'm going on a date. I'll see you later. And she walks down to the lobby of the dorm, and it's Paul Gilbert picking her up.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Love Paul Gilbert.
Great guitar player.
Great
Up
shredder
there with
guitar player.
Steve Vai and all of them.
One of the original shredders.
Yeah, one of the original.
Pioneers of shredding.
And
Like, stupid.
yeah, and the thing is that, and met him since then here and there. He's a really nice guy, you know?
Oh, he's a sweetheart.
But
yeah.
who knows how old he was at that time, and he's
Yeah,
picking up that girl. It actually is the 80s. It's not a Halloween party. This is happening in real time.
not a
Hair
movie.
metal is huge. I'm 5 miles from the Sunset Strip, but I'm also 17 and I just lived in Phoenix. So I'm still, you know, and I'm
So you went to UCLA?
Yeah.
Okay, so...
And I was like, what is happening? How that happens? That's
Yeah.
a real person? You're date like,
I could totally imagine
and it's
that.
just come, and I was like, wow, you know.
So how did you get there? How did you go from Phoenix to UCLA, and what did you major in?
Well, I was in Phoenix for grade school and part of high school, and I was
Right.
like, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
Like I gotta go play guitar. I gotta get back to California.
Sure.
So we moved back. I convinced my mom to take a job. Now remember, my mom is gunning for me to be this rock and roll guy.
Right. She's
So
into
that's
the
part
rock.
of it. Yeah, she's told her I was doing well in high school. I said I might want to be like a lawyer or a doctor just because I like to study, believe it or not. And she started crying. She was like, "What about Neil Young? We had a deal." Like, not kidding, for real.
Can you imagine that? That's great. I love that.
She was so disappointed.
That's the opposite.
So, and she's like, "What college? You gotta get in the band." Blah, blah. Yeah. So, anyway, she moved back here, got a job so I could get residency and afford it, and I got into UCLA. Didn't pay any attention to UCLA because I was like, "This is just holding me back. I got to get out there," you know. So, going to school and all that, trying to get through as quickly as possible, but you know, getting in a car or my buddy's car or whatever and heading out in the late 80s.
Yeah.
Seeing what's going on. I mean, I played at Gazzari's, you know,
Oh, wow.
before it switched over. I saw Bill Gazzari, and if you ever see Decline of Western Civilization Part 2, which is terrible.
I haven't seen it.
Do you have you heard of these movies?
No.
Okay, so Decline of Western Civilization Part 1 was done, I think it was by Penelope Spheres, who might have done... well, she did a lot of early documentaries, but it's the definitive punk rock, LA punk rock movie. So she decided to make 2. And naturally, if you're like looking around at LA, you're like, okay, well, we did punk rock music. Let's do hair band heavy metal music, right?
The definitive.
Like, yeah.
What was
Decline of Western Civilization Part 2.
Thank you.
Which, like most sequels, is not groundbreaking at all.
Okay.
But is amazing now when you look back because it's so sad.
Oh.
You got to look back at how kind of
Yeah.
like pathetic, because Because it's the bands that didn't become the huge hair metal.
Oh, right.
It's a band like Odin. Okay.
I'm looking it up now. Okay, yeah.
It's amazing.
If you just typed in the decline of Western,
and they got Bill Gazzari in it, and
Okay.
they show them, and then there was one guy, and he's this one band guy who's in his pool up in the hills, just pouring vodka in his pool chair into it while his mom's on the side of thing, and we're gonna be huge, we're gonna be but they didn't become Poison or Bon Jovi or whatever. Gotta see that movie. Okay. So
you played that scene. You were here.
I was
you
a kid.
made it.
I showed up at that scene.
Yeah.
And the band that I was in for 1 minute tricked me and stole my clothes. Oh. Because I had on, because I showed up at the gig. I had Sperry topsiders and just like board shorts and a t-shirt. I'm just like a guitar shredder. I don't know about the whole image thing, right?
Yeah.
And everyone there had spandex and Aquanet and all that. And I was like, no one cares. And they stole my clothes. And they're like, you're going to wear this stuff.
That's hilarious.
So
I think it takes a minute.
It was just a minute, but to have been able to peek in, to be in Gazzari's, which was where Van Halen was discovered, all the way up to Poison and Motley Crue and all those. Gazzari's was right next to the Roxy. It became Billboard and a bunch of other clubs. But to actually show up with my axe and have Bill Gazzari, this old Italian dude looking like Godfather's Pizza with the old suit and the two hookers on either side of him go, "Hey kid, you playing tonight?" Like to have that moment, it's like meeting like Dean Martin or something.
Right.
I think he passed away right after that.
Wow.
So I got a glimpse into that. But that's what I'm doing
awesome.
at UCLA is I'm like trying to gig and get in bands. And, I don't know, one band I'm in is totally into the Police. And they're surfers, and we're playing this music, and then this other band is like a heavy metal band. And
right. What were you studying? What was your major? Philosophy.
Yeah.
Did you finish?
I did.
Wow. This guy really does hit the books. So how did you have time to finish a degree in philosophy and develop a music career?
Well, philosophy I picked because it was the lowest amount of upper division credits you could get to graduate, 13. Okay. What I didn't know is that philosophy at UCLA was number 5, right behind like Harvard and like 3, 4 others. Yeah, it was like hardcore logic and math. That's why it was only a few courses. And these guys were like brainiacs or whatever. Fortunately, in the first couple years, I just went right at it when I still had some brain cells and some attention span. Yeah. And then I found out that I couldn't graduate UCLA, even though I finished all my required classes, because I didn't actually have enough credits to graduate. So the last 2 years, I just took electives, just random things like film class and whatever, and just went and gigged just till I got enough to graduate. So in a way, I kind of missed my college education because I wasn't really focused on it. I was like just trying to get on the road.
Yeah, but then you got a nice little hodgepodge of information toward the end, like you said.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
So
brilliant. Okay, we've only gotten past one of the questions so far. So
well, he knows. Get Xander going.
This is why I was like, this needs to happen because you guys are the exact same thing. It's like awesome. You don't need 15 questions. You need 2 questions. I'm Baron Grafft. You're listening to the Career Musician Podcast with Nomad.
Being a career musician is more than just gigs and sessions. Are you a career musician? Find out on the Career Musician Podcast, streaming everywhere. Binge previous seasons of the Career Musician Podcast and subscribe for all new episodes.
Blasting the stereotype of musicians. Follow us at the Career Musician Podcast.
Hi, I'm Xander Smith. I'm a guitar player, singer-songwriter, road manager, cat juggler. And you're listening to the Career Musician Podcast with Nomad.
Here's what I want to. Here's some things I do want to talk about. Your principles and your methods are coming out in conversation, so that's fine. I always ask my guests, talk about some of your principles and methods. But look, the bottom line is with somebody like yourself, you're a businessman, you understand how business works. So your principles are going to be on point with good business practices, and you will divulge more information as we go. Your resume, your credits, people can find out. Let's talk about that briefly. Xander Smith, right? We can go to your website, xandersmithmusic.com, and they can see more about your resume. But take me through the abridged version
Yeah.
You're out here, you're hustling, you want to get gigs now. You're finishing up your college. How did you get from playing the Strip to working for Herb Alpert, one of the greatest jazz legends of our time?
Well, first of all, it starts out, it's just Xander with an acoustic guitar at the end of the day, right? Because I can't control what other people are doing or how well bands are going to do or whether I use hairspray or not. You know what I mean?
I love that.
Oh, and also the DNA starts out with Dear Prudence. It starts out with Simon and Garfunkel, you know,
So you
like
have the folk
singer-songwriters.
grounding,
Yeah, just always was, that's
Love
an interesting song. That's just always hit home for me.
Yeah.
So when I'm 17, 18, I'm also, while I'm doing those other gigs, I'm also going to these coffee houses and stuff that existed back then and doing solo sets, which fast forward to through a bunch of different bands. I gave you a CD today when I walked in, and still do that, and I've had a lot of success.
So you're
doing that.
developing your singer-songwriter chops. You're singing and playing.
Right.
And you're doing covers and you're writing.
Right.
And you've had a lot of success doing that.
Yeah. You know, I've got
Okay.
to do a lot of stuff and brought a lot of talented people in. I
love
think
that.
maybe that's where the beginning of the manager business model stuff comes in, because you got to go get the gig yourself.
You got to do it yourself.
You got to do it yourself. No one's doing it for you until you're John Mayer. And even before that, I'm sure he's doing it all himself as well.
Right.
So, you know, that got involved later on as I slowly transitioned. So I became the guy, when I became just the guitar player of the band, I would sit around, but I had a hard time watching poorly run groups.
Oh, tell me about it.
And, you know, and I couldn't mind my own business, and I didn't know how to just get paid and shut up. My ego was involved.
No, you got
at
to
that
speak
point.
up. Yes.
So, so what happens is slowly but surely, band by band, project by project, I kind of start falling upwards to a management capacity. For a long time, I'm playing guitar, and then I'm like, well, why don't I be the road manager? You know, we're paying this guy. I can go get paid and get all that stuff done. So I'm acquiring that skill set. While that's happening, okay, I got to pay the bills. So in between two different bands that were signed, I'm broke as a joke. Okay, I'm not trying at that point, not trying to work a regular job anymore, even though I had worked regular jobs, because I'm trying to be available to play.
Right.
So what ended up happening is I got a gig at the House of Blues selling T-shirts, because my buddy just threw me a bone. He's like, "Come sell T-shirts. I'll pay you cash under the table." That turned into another career in production. Because I'm sitting there and I'm eating nachos and I'm drinking a beer and I'm watching, you know, whatever band on stage selling T-shirts. But then I'm bored. You know, I'm curious. I'm watching the lighting guy. I go over to the lighting guy. I'm like, "How did you do da-da-da-da-da?" Which, by the way, Baron's still sitting here. He also has experience in doing, you know what I mean?
Still sitting.
You know, he's a former lighting guy too. We've
I didn't
connected
know.
on
See,
that.
there's so much you didn't tell me.
Oh
Barry.
yeah, he's a multi-talent, this guy.
Ah, so you did not divulge.
So, okay, so, you know, anyway, the short answer there is I, again, fall my way upwards into sound and stage, and next thing I know, I'm the stage manager running that stuff.
Wow.
Then I get signed again. I'm going to shift back over, pivot
You got
back over to
signed as
music,
an artist,
and, you know, all
as
that
your
stuff.
own artist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, in a band I was in at the
Okay,
time.
okay.
Okay, but I've still got this sort of like this fallback
All right.
career doing stuff like that. The last gig I had before Herb Alpert, to answer your question, I'm road managing, I'm playing guitar for an artist that's going around the country, and it's a tough gig. You know, it's a tough gig.
So you're doubling up guitar and road managing.
And road managing, printing out set lists while doing sound check,
Right.
playing shaker, and driving the van.
Ooh.
Right?
You're kind of doing like 4 jobs.
Yeah, and I remember this. We were in Boston once, and the singer was like, I didn't have a guitar part of this, but she wanted me to play shaker, right? Which, by the way, for all your listeners, percussion is the hardest instrument out there.
To be consistent.
No one gives it credit, but you know, as soon as you're not on, it's like a heartbeat. You know right away. So I'm doing the shaker. I'm printing out the guest list
Oh no.
because I'm tour managing too.
Right.
And she just stops the song. By the way, the people that were in this band were really talented. She had a killer Yo-Cat band.
Okay.
And they're all watching me do this, and she's just like, "You're slowing down. You're dropping the beat, man." And I was like, "I'm printing out the guest list," which is not the answer, right? There's no excuse, right? The answer is either
I'm so sorry.
multitask or don't.
I got it. Here we go.
I got it. I'm so sorry, right?
We'll fix it. Yeah.
We'll fix it.
Yeah.
at wit's end, and I called my buddy who was a sound guy, and I was like, listen, man, you're the only normal person I know in the music business. He was a really talented guy. You're a nice guy. You're a family man. You're professional. Mm-hmm. You know, you're not screaming at people. You're not hooked on Oxy. Like, he doesn't take gigs where people are screaming at each other. Because show business is pretty.
Oh, there's a lot of that.
Crazy.
Yeah.
On stage and off stage. I said, if you ever get a gig, take me with you. Just call me.
Oh, nice.
I dropped that hint, and about 9-10 months later, he goes, "Hey, man,
Remember what you're...
I'm doing sound for Herb Alpert." And I was like, great. He's like, I'm dying out here. It's just me. He needs people. So can you come see a gig and maybe talk to him about working for him? And I was like, and I was really involved in my own thing at that point. I was going to Russia and all this different stuff. I was very involved as a player. Last thing I wanted to do was go, work with another artist full time.
So you were doing that just as Xander Smith, the artist. You were doing
that time. No, that time I Run was
Run. Your band, which we'll get to,
was doing great.
Okay,
we were all over the place. Beautiful. Great opening slots, record coming out, KCRW, K Rock, all of it. And then I get this phone call, and I was like, "Well, I'll go meet with the guy." And Herb changed me, because it was a whole different thing. I didn't know it was just a gig I was looking for, but I didn't know he would change me as a person, as a man, as a future parent, and his approach to the music business and as a player.
Initially, it seems counterintuitive to me when you have this successful band with a solo career going, and then you want to go work for a legendary artist as a tour manager.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that seems like, oh, well, there's no comparison. I'm going to stick with my artistry.
Right. And it wouldn't happen.
I think most people would,
But the universe, like giving us Rick Springfield, conspired against me, because it wasn't an all or nothing. It wasn't like, hey, I'm a big deal right now and I'm doing 200 dates a year and you got to drop everything, pack your bag and go. He was like, I don't even really want to do this. He goes, my wife and I are we play a couple shows, a year. In fact, he said to me when I went and did an assessment, I said, listen, you have a band here. You need, at the very least, you have a great ear. He produced a lot of records.
Of course.
You need a monitor guy, first of all.
Oh, they didn't have one?
It was just my friend Mike.
Yikes.
He was doing both and running around, setting up the back line. I'm like, you need a monitor guy. Yeah. You got a sound guy. Mm-hmm. You got a woman in the band. Your wife is singing. So you need a lighting guy. She's green right now on stage because there's no lights. You probably need someone to set up all the really nice equipment. Uh-huh. You need like 3-4 people just to go do this thing. Otherwise, you don't need me. That's if you want it to become, because he said, I want it to be comfortable. I want it to be smooth. This is the very least what you need.
This is the team I would put together. This is how you do it. Yeah.
He said to me, he goes, okay, well, whatever you think. And then when we talked about, I said, well, how much are you going to tour this year? What's the schedule like? He said, listen, you'll never hear this. He said, listen, you guys tell me when we're going to play. I said, what are you talking about? He goes, well, these other guys in my band, he plays with Burt Bacharach. These two guys play with Sergio Mendes and play with blah, blah, blah and everything. And you obviously got some talented guys that probably have other jobs. He goes, we're not even really going to do this thing. He goes, you guys check all your schedules, and wherever you're not all working, let's play some shows. So that's how I was able to do it. I just booked him in between the times when I wasn't doing stuff.
Yeah, it's easy to say that, but did you develop a relationship with the booking agent?
Had to.
I would say you have to, because there's no other way you could do that.
Yeah,
you have to in that position, because look, let's be honest. In most band like celebrity type artist bands, management wants the musicians to be seen but not heard.
Yeah, literally.
So you can be seen, but keep your mouth shut. They don't want you talking to people. They don't want you making friends with the agents or the promoters or this and or they don't want you to get too close to the artist. They control all that, and it's all we know the reasons why. So the fact that you were the tour manager, so it's different. See, as a tour manager, you have a mouthpiece that you're actually knighted to use. They want you to use it. You have to use it, right? You have to talk to management. You have to talk. You're the go-between a lot of times. Yeah. So that was like a blessing in disguise, right?
It was a blessing, and you know what? One thing just thematically is he was so gracious, and he was since he made us a priority, like We made him a priority.
That's amazing.
So he was able to get
symbiotic.
He was able to get a priority standing from part-timers, which never happens, right?
Ooh.
If you put someone on salary,
That's you put them on retainer. That's fine.
retainer, we're all good. Whenever you say
done.
we go.
Drop everything and go.
But for him to get that to this day from the people that work for him, because it's still a part-time gig, really,
right.
Is amazing. And that's just because of the way he talked to us and he treated us. And we wanted to do that for him.
That's amazing.
And that's how, what I'm saying is that's how it changed me. So in the beginning, it was like, yeah, jazz guy, this could be a cool little side gig. It's going to be a lot less work than tour managing some rock band with a bunch of numbskulls, right?
Right.
So awesome. You know, and so I thought it was that. And then it just gradually kind of like it shaped me. So when I went back to my other gigs and worked with other people, I took that mentality.
That's right.
You know, this is a guy that started A&M Records, which is the first real indie label and one of the most successful of all time on a handshake deal. This is a guy,
and Alpert and
Moss. And this is a story after story after story. If you talk to him, you can talk to him about all the A&M artists, and there's so many that we grew up with. Everyone from, you know, the Carpenters to Soundgarden, right?
Yeah.
But when you ask them about Sheryl Crow, or you ask them about Cat Stevens or whoever, and you hear the real story about how they came about, and you hear about the artists that they signed but then let go, like Waylon Jennings.
Wow.
He finds Waylon Jennings in Phoenix, Arizona. He's going out there. He's A&R'ing him. He does his first few records. But understands that A&M, while it's going to be really important to a lot of artists like Joe Cocker and different bands, Free, all these things, doesn't really have a dog in the fight when it comes to country music. He can't do for Waylon Jennings what RCA is going to do. And those guys. And when they approach him and they come up to, and Waylon's young and he's like, they want me in they let him out of his contract.
Oh, man.
Would never, can you imagine?
Wow. Just get it.
I was signed
Interscope
in a band in 2001. We had to break up to get out of that contract.
Really?
I think Jimmy Iovine's going to be like, listen, kid, I don't know what you're doing, but whatever it is, no one else is getting it. And then my people will tell me if you got a hit record, and then I'll pay attention to you. Right. That's what I walked into with that record deal. Because I signed to A&M having nothing to do with her, just a coincidence.
Really?
In 1998, 99, last band ever signed to the original A&M before it got absorbed by Interscope. Geffen, A&M, and I think it was DGC and like Polygram, so all got sucked up into Seagram's, the Canadian company, for a minute, bought all of that. And then they put Interscope in charge of everything. And it was a bloodbath.
Of course.
And they dropped every band you can think of, but for some reason, kept us. But wouldn't put the record out. They were like, we don't know what's going on with you, but Ted Fields over here really likes what you're doing. So, and there's chicks in your band, so we're not going to drop you. We're just not going to do anything with you. And you're signed for 7 years.
That's the purgatory. That's a band's purgatory. That is terrible.
We had to break up. I said to our lawyer, what do I do? He's like, you can't do anything. You're the key man in this thing, you and the other songwriter. So we had to break up. That's very different. So that's my experience with all navigating all those kind of personalities. And then here I am. I'm finally hitting my stride as a original artist in a band. Everything I've tried for since I'm 10. And then I meet this guy Herb Alpert, who's like, I'm not really trying to do this. I just want to have fun. It's like, no, really. No, for real. And slowly he just starts getting into my brain. He doesn't realize he's talking me off of stage,
right,
little by little.
Right. Man. Okay. So what I really find interesting about, like you said, your trajectory, you start off as a guitar player, then turned artist, then morph into a touring manager, then back to a guitar player artist, then a band lead. So your career this whole time, it's evolving, but it's still evolving around the same 3 roles kind of per se. What's interesting though is most musicians, like you said, are not going to go for the management position.
Right.
It's very like even myself, I would always look, and I can point the proverbial finger and say, management is fucking up here. This is wrong. You're not doing this. Where's my production manager? Load-in was jacked up. You didn't do, I could do it. And I know I could run the business, but I chose not to.
Yeah. Well, maybe you saved yourself some heartache.
Maybe. I ended up being the music director for, a pretty big
Which
celebrity artist for a long time. Very similar. And I think that's where it really, the rubber met the road, because I think a lot of times I was bleeding over into managerial tour manager status, when I shouldn't have to had. Right? If that's the correct term. But anyway. So it's really unique. I think it's really cool. But talk about run, because, and I'm looking up your email because you responded, like I said, you answered all of my questions. Well, the talking points, really, they're not questions. But you mentioned something, you're in Russia, you're singing, what is the song you sang? Yesterday, a cappella in St. Petersburg to like 12,000, some great things here that you're talking about. I'm jumping around, but let's talk about run. Because that's what you said you had a lot of success.
Well, it's like, it's interesting. Run was like, it was the band originally, creatively, it was the combination of all the styles I ever wanted to put into a band in one. So it was my baby, and we had a lot of great opportunities. It was a musician's band in a sense, sounded nothing like Rush, but similar in that had the respect from. We really held our own. We were a great live band. We had a lot of, because we had a lot of problems as the music industry fell apart and changed. Right when we hit our stride, basically the music business was over as far as record sales, late 2000s, right?
Yeah, that's
right when we come out. It's just like it's all falling apart. Our distribution deal falls apart. This, that, the other thing.
Yeah, it's tough.
Whereas, if it had been a few years before that, maybe we'd be like, oh, you were in Run. Okay, we had everything going for us. K-Rock liked it, a great single, all that stuff. But pound for pound, I always grew up in a van. I was always on the road. So we were always a great live band, and we were able to mix a lot of styles. But bands would see us, and that's why we opened up for everybody. And we opened up for everybody, not because we had a huge agent or because we had a lot of money behind us, but because bands would see us and be like, wow.
That's a killer band.
That's a killer band. And the list of bands that we opened up for, from the Strokes to New Order to...
Really?
You name it, all different genres was impressive because they were like, oh, let's give these guys a shot, And because of that, we got to do a lot of great things. Run got to go to Russia because we were opening for a really big Russian band that came here. No one knew who they were, but they were a stadium band over there.
What's their name?
They were called Moomy Troll.
Okay.
And their lead singer is like a household name over there, and they were an alternative band. They were a band that was raised on contraband 80s alternative records in Vladivostok. Seamen would come in with these records, Television and Blondie and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, they heard one of our songs, like these other bands, were like, oh, wait, these guys are onto something. They made us their opening act, which I also was the tour manager for. Oh, geez. Because these guys had no idea where they were going.
Bro, you're running so many things, pardon the pun.
Listen, that's a whole podcast in itself. Me taking this Russian band on day one into Washington, D.C. for their first gig in the United States on the day of the inauguration of Obama.
What?
A bunch of Russians.
Just getting through customs must have been like...
A bunch of Russians in what looks like basically a bomb. It's a silver bus with tinted windows, trying to get to the Russian embassy because they were so famous in Russia. They wanted to have a lunch for them. We walk in, and I'm like, and I get this thing, and the guy's like, go to this place, and we go. He's like, we get free lunch, and we go in there. I don't know what I'm doing. So out of it at that point, been in the studio for a month, and I forgot it was the inauguration, and we pull in the middle of DC, and we pull up. There's the pylons and everything like that, and the Secret Service. What do you guys? Blah blah. I'm like, I got to take these guys to lunch. I'm the road manager for this Russian band. We walk in. It's full state dinner. The kind you only see on the West Wing. I mean, caviar.
Oh my God!
Silver
Were you guys
spoons.
dressed for it?
No,
You dressed
we
like
this.
road musicians.
And the Russians were in suit. This is like
They're all
there's Putin, and then
docked up.
all the rest of them are in there.
Are
like,
you serious?
Oh, Moomy Troll. Yeah, it's like whatever. We walk in.
Really?
That's day one. So
Okay, and you're their tour manager. So I'm looking at them now. Okay, so all this information is online.
So
Moomy is
they invite us
MUMIY,
to
by
go
the
over
way.
to Russia. Okay, and so
But wait, so you were the tour manager. How did you become the tour manager for this Russian?
I became the tour manager because the Village Recorder, which is a famous
Of
studio
course,
in
here
the
in
West, where they
San-
did
in Santa
Fleetwood
Monica.
Mac and
Everybody. Fleetwood Mac, I mean-
one of the only real studios that's left.
That's still
old school.
running. Yeah.
Still, Robbie Robertson's got his office there. The whole thing, real music. And I needed studio time for Run, and I just don't have the cash. I need I need a room that's $2,000 a day,
Right.
$2,500 a day. I'm
Right.
like, so I make a deal with Jeff, the owner of the studio, who'd come to see Run at the Viper Room. Was like, listen, I used to be the agent for the Who. He told me this. He goes, you guys. One thing about the Who and Lynyrd Skynyrd is they always could kill every other band on stage. They were that good live. He goes, you guys really got something. Let me know if I can ever do something for you. I'm like, yeah, I need some studio time.
Wow.
He's like, well, he goes, I can't give you that room. We did this thing where they did Asia, okay, Steely Dan.
Oh, yeah.
He gave us the Asia room. He's like, I'll make you a deal. You give me this much cash, and you got to take these guys out on the road. I got this Russian band. They're going to be huge, blah, 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 blah. He found them. I'm like, fine, no problem. It's 2 weeks. I'll do it. That's how I end up with the Russians. But because I'm a professional,
Yeah.
and I want people to hear this.
Of course.
I mean, I'm as full of shit as the next guy, but I'm a professional, okay? I never told them about my band. I never hustled them for
Right,
a gig. The
right.
drummer, like you're doing right now, was
Right,
like in the back
right.
of the bus, and he's
Yeah.
like, he starts
Wait,
playing.
will you do
He's
this?
like, what
Yeah.
is this? What is this song and dance?
yeah.
He plays it for the singer, and they were like, you didn't tell us you have a band. Yeah, don't worry about that. I'm just trying to get home and get into the studio. And then, so they became big supporters, like a lot of bands did
Of
for us.
course. I mean, I'm looking at it here. Yeah, like you said, the Strokes, Psychedelic Furs, Zombies, The Walkmen, Moomy Troll, Trail of the Dead, Cranes, Sparta the Teenagers, Silver Spun Pickups, and The Living End. So, wow. Okay.
All over the, yeah.
Steve Perry. Okay. Madonna. Okay. Wow. All right. So I love this story. I don't want to interrupt you. Sorry, but I'm kind of throwing in the facts here. What happens next? Moomy Troll, Putin.
So we go over
Dinner.
there. Yeah, I mean, we have our first show over there is in a place called Kazan, which I've never heard of. It's south of Moscow, and it's kind of like in the southern part of America. There's a lot of Spanish influence.
Oh, yeah.
In the southern part of Russia, it's all Islam and like Kazakhstan and all these stands, Tartarstan, all these different places.
Great way to put that, by the way. That really helps you envision
And
it.
you see this influence. So we end up, and they do these what they call open air, right? Open air shows. It's a big deal. They have a lot of squares over in that part of the world, right? You see Queen in the Ukraine, and there's just a big square, right? We don't have big squares here, right?
There's a lot of space out there.
They like to do things where 500,000 people just show up and stand there, right?
crazy.
There's dictators that need to talk to people, right? So they have one. There's
Well
mosques
said.
in the background, but the Russian flag's everywhere. We
Yeah.
show up. It's our first festival,
Yeah.
open air festival. They invite us to, and we walk out, and I mentioned it in the very first day. There's like 100,000 people.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. We were at the Viper Room 2 weeks before
Couple
that.
weeks before that.
Right?
Playing what?
I think there was
Playing 80
100
people? Yeah.
maybe 100 people.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Same set list. At the end of the night.
That's nuts, bro.
At the end of the night, Andrei Makarevich, which you've never heard of, and I've never heard of, and he's never heard of, but is the Bruce Springsteen. That's the way he was describing me of Russia. He's a guy that came out at the end of the '60s, was right when Beatles and everything. He was trying to expose people to Western music, so he was like a singer-songwriter, and then he just stuck around everything. So he's a household name from the Cold War days. And so having him come out would be like, oh, we got Elton John at our festival or something. He comes out, he does Give Peace a Chance, and brings me on stage, and I'm singing, and now it's the nighttime slot, and now it's just as far as you can see, that many people. So that's our first gig in Russia.
Right. Messing up, and this is what you said when you emailed me, messing up the words to Give Peace a Chance in front of 80 to 100,000 Russians, but realizing no one cared. You got to love that.
Yeah, I'm like, can you, because, basically Give Peace a Chance is a rap song. Da 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 da. There's a lot of lyrics. I'm like, writing them down on my hand. He's like, give peace chants, come. And I was like, could we do like help or something? I know.
Help.
But I'm
I need somebody.
But I got,
gosh.
they've spent a lot of money to bring us over there. I got to get out there. You're going to make it happen. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you'll know as a guitar player, has anyone ever told you this? I learned this early on too. I remember one time at an early gig, I got unplugged. Someone stepped on my cable.
Oh,
and
that's
what did
the
I do as an
worst.
early guitar player? Well, I got to be plugged in. I'm a guitar player. I turn around. I'm looking for the
Messing with the
chord. I'm messing with the
chord,
amp.
yeah.
And I had a guy pull me aside and go, never do that again. You just smile. No one is even listening to
smile
you.
and make
No one
believe.
even knows you're playing guitar
That's
right now.
right.
They're just looking at the drummer and the singer.
Just look over. If you see a tech, just be like, hey.
Yeah,
give him
in between songs maybe, but man, the show must go on, right?
Don't turn your back. Yeah.
Anyway, to answer your question about the 12,000 people in yesterday.
Yes, okay.
They brought me back to play an acoustic show, just myself. They had a big,
The Russian promoters.
they were in St. Petersburg. It was
Okay.
a big hockey arena. And
Just by yourself.
Just by
as
myself.
a solo act.
Well, I pitched it to him.
It's amazing.
I was like, listen, we have the opening slot. We can't afford to bring back the whole band. So I went back for this because all I'm trying to do is not make it as Xander Smith. I'm just trying to keep the flame alive.
Yeah.
So whether it's one of us or all of us, just keep in the culture,
That's amazing.
and try to keep this career and this.
See, but that's because you had a mouthpiece. You knew how to conduct business. You knew what. If you just speak up, it's okay. Nobody's
Yeah.
going to get mad at you.
Right.
Nobody's going to throw things at you. And you know what? If they do, okay, duck.
Yeah.
But just fucking talk.
Right.
Open up your mouth and be cool, right?
Right.
And there's so many musicians don't understand that
Right.
concept.
Well, a lot of times they get hustly and they're like, get what I want.
Right,
But there's a line there. You got to.
You have to be cool.
You have to be cool, but you have to go for it too.
Yeah, it's a
So I said, yeah, I'll come over by
delicate
myself.
balance. Okay.
So I'm about to walk on stage, and like I said, they're all there to see the headliner. They're not there to see me.
Yeah.
I mean, people are starting to know who we are, but we're still not selling 12,000, 14,000 tickets. This is an opening slot for that band. And what I realized, this is like minutes before I went on stage, was when you walk on stage with a band, a rock and roll band, especially in that part of the world, because they're still into rock and roll. They still like Deep Purple over there.
That's awesome.
They're huge over there.
Yeah.
You got drums, you got guitar solos, you got the business model of a rock and roll band.
Right.
And if you're decent enough, they're going to be respectful of you. They may not love you, you may not be Axl Rose or
Right.
whatever, but they're going to, Now it doesn't matter if you're the guy in Animal House with the acoustic guitar, where everyone's like, shut that guy up, or you're in front of 10,000 people. You're the dude with the acoustic guitar. And unless you have hits, and unless you're known to be that guy, you're just annoying. Who are you? Who's this guy singing to me right now?
Right.
And I realized that right before I went on. I looked out and I saw thousands and thousands of people, like when I was a kid going to see arena bands before the lights went down.
Sure.
And I was like, all of a sudden I was like, who am I? Who the fuck am I? Like,
Wow.
yeah, great. Here's your slot, kid, but you better bring it. Because if you've never been on stage and had a crowd turn on you, you can't explain it. You have no idea. I used to see Weezer fans eat opening bands up alive in the early days.
Wow.
Like in those first couple
You
records.
were working with Weezer?
Well, no, I
at
just
the time?
I would
You
see
go
them. They
see
were a
them. Yeah,
local
yeah,
band. I'd be
yeah.
like,
Oh,
that
gotcha.
was a bad move. You're like, we're opening for so and so. Yeah, okay,
Oh, good luck, buddy.
great. Because there's 4,000 people that aren't there to see you.
It really is terrible.
Being an opening band
It's
is
a
like
death wish.
the worst thing. I saw White Lion, not White Lion. What were they called? There was a band that got booed off the stage when I saw them open for Journey in 1986.
Wow. Great White? It's another white band.
No. I'll think of it in a second. Don't Forget Me When I'm Gone. That was their big single,
Oh, nice.
86. I'll think of the name in a second. In any case, so you don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
But what you can do, what we all can do in life is right size ourselves. We can look and go, what am I dealing with right now? Who is in front of me?
That's
and
right.
how can I go and not get punched in the face right now?
That's right.
How can I get,
Awareness, self-awareness.
and I looked at that and I was like, I can't walk out. I don't have what they're looking for.
Yikes.
What can I do to ingratiate them? What can I do to bring them in and make this possible? And that's when I realized that to this day, not that they aren't big everywhere. But the Beatles are all their music. It's a household name there. And the thing about a lot of these other countries, not just Eastern Europe and stuff, but you go to Central America and South America and stuff like that, is they love songs. They love to sing. I used to see I used to see Maná and Mexican bands come to House of Blues, and they would be killing it playing a hard rock song, and then they would go into a ballad, and it was even louder.
Crazy,
people wanted it even more. Whereas in America, it was like, oh, you're bumming me out right now.
Don't play your ballad.
Keep up the energy. And I knew that, and I thought to myself, I'm going to walk out there and I'm going to play Yesterday. But I'm not just going to go out there like I'm in a cover band, like anyone can do. I'm going to tell them a story, a short story. And I walked out there in a minute or less, because I had a short slot. I walked out there and I said, listen, I said, my mother's family are all from Russia. And I said, she gave me a guitar when I was young, and she gave me a Beatles record. All is just true. And I learned this song as a little kid. I hope you'll like this song. I hope you'll sing this song with me. And I started playing Yesterday. And by the first verse, in the middle of the first verse, I had everyone singing along.
Wow.
And then, this is in real time. What I realized as far as being a producer or an MD, right? Wow. How to orchestrate your band. And I had never thought of this until this moment. But I'm playing up there. Your ears become fatigued when you're listening, whether it's lights or drums or whatever, and over and over and over again. When you're just a singer, songwriter up there, guitar player, all you're hearing is blah, 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 and strum, 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 strum. Right. And it's incessant, right? Right. Especially if you're a guy out there and you're playing to 10,000 people, you're really trying to bring the energy that you don't have with your band not being there, right?
Sure.
There's no drummer behind you. In that moment, I thought, well, if you really want to get attention as a lighting guy, you turn all the lights out. Mm-hmm. That's a big move, right? Not adding red or green or whatever, right? Yeah. I thought, well, there's just me in this hand. I thought,
if I just stop.
What if I just stop playing guitar right now, right as it goes into the second verse?
Wow.
And I just stopped playing guitar, and it brought everyone into it. And there were some people singing. Everyone was singing. Now it was 10,000. And because they could hear themselves singing and they looked around, it's about, now I made it about us and not just about me.
That's right.
And then I brought the guitar back in, and then I had them. And then they were like, all right, now what do you got? And I'm like, this is one of my songs. And I played a couple more songs. I did a Russian cover, and I got the fuck off a stage. It was a 16-minute set.
There you go. But you were smart.
They gave me a half an hour. 17 minutes, and fuck this guy. Why is he still there? Because where's the guy that we paid to see?
But that was smart. They gave you a half hour.
They gave me a half hour.
But you did 16
minutes.
Good for you. But see, that's using your judgment.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't have done that in the past, but this is all post-Herb. You
learned a lot from that.
I'm starting to see how it goes,
Okay, let's do a rapid fire about business, and then we're going to do a rapid fire for fun. So the rapid fire for business first. Tour essentials. I love what you said. Pack light. I so agree. And then you say it.
But just read it.
Okay. All right. Just read it, he says.
It's quicker. I love it. You don't have to go on some tangent.
One pair of dark jeans, flip-flops, swimsuit, change of underwear, and t-shirt each day, a good slim fit coat, and the one durable electric guitar with some pedals in the carry-on. Never check a bag. Okay, so you end it with the all-time ultimate rule of a traveling musician. Never check a bag.
Never.
If you check a bag, that is the sure tell sign that you are a rookie.
Yeah.
Because whenever you land, you and 13 other people don't need to be standing at the luggage rack waiting for your damn suitcase to show up. You just want to hit the ground and roll, right?
Yeah. Not to mention the fact that you, that they lose bags.
They lose it.
And you can't afford to have that happen.
No,
and not
you
to
don't have
mention
time.
the fact. So where I learned that was at the House of Blues. Yeah. Call me in as a runner one day. What do you need me to do? Judas Priest, without the original lead singer, for a little while they've got a stand-in. So when they've got Ripper singing, they're playing the House of Blues. Okay, and when he comes back, they're playing at shows.
Rob Halford, yeah, of course.
I'm there, whatever. Listen, at
All
House
good.
of Blues, I just need to get some cash, right? I'm broke.
Yeah.
So I'll do whatever you want me to do.
You're hustling, I love it.
Hey, can you take Judas Priest laundry to the Fluff and Fold? Not a problem.
Yeah, sure.
Down in Santa Monica, what's the big deal? Fluff, it was this big.
Yeah.
Those guys they wear the same
That's right.
cut off, sleeves cut off, little mini short shirts. metal shirts every single night. They have one outfit, and they just wash it every single day. I was like, yeah, you don't need any clothes.
You don't need all this stuff. That's right.
Any of that
I
stuff.
love it. Studio etiquette. Always arrive early with your own bottle of water. I love both of those. So again, early is on time is early blah blah blah. Okay, we know that. Talk about that studio etiquette. My other thing is keep your eyes and ears wide open and your mouth shut.
Yeah.
Right? So
Absolutely.
anything to expound on studio etiquette?
No, just listen and wait to be spoken to.
There
and
you go.
Be ready.
Yeah, unless you're the producer. If you're the producer, then you're running the show, and you can do what you got to do. All right, health and lifestyle on the road. You said go to bed as early as possible, never be around smoke, and try to avoid carbs. So I love that. First of all, I was always the first one to my hotel room. Mm-hmm. All the guys in the band were like, "Oh man, forget you, man. You're not gonna go out and party." I would go out every once in a while, have a couple drinks, but then you know what, guys? Look, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, man, come on. And lobby calls at 5, lobby calls in 4 hours, and you want me to go hang out? Hell no.
Yeah,
not going to happen.
People are on the road in the beginning because they want that party. They want to be invited to that party.
Right.
But you can't sustain that.
You can't. Best articulated perfectly. Okay, business acumen, negotiating, branding, etc. And you say, stay true to yourself, but must be flexible to the one who's writing your paycheck.
Yeah.
I think that's brilliant. I mean, it's a matter of finding that balance. I think this whole interview is about that.
Yeah.
When to say no, thank you. When you already know it's a bad idea before you take the gig and you still think, well, maybe. Let's talk about that because I believe gut instinct goes ignored too often with all of us as a human race. I think our initial gut instinct is usually on point, right?
Yeah.
And that sounds like what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Short story, go back to Herb.
Please.
Give him some credit. People told me this before, but I didn't start hearing it. In the early days when he wasn't doing much stuff at all, playing a few times a year, a gig came up. Someone I had worked with before, had a miserable time with. Was really tough gig. Wasn't worth the money. But this tour came up and it was 3 months and it was a big paycheck. It was a big. All I saw was the total, the chunk of change. Yeah. What I would come home with in mid-December, and it's September when I'm making this phone call.
Okay.
And for some reason, at that time, Herb was we weren't really that involved. So it was almost kind of like a mentor, like, a father figure. Nice. I would just ask him. I don't know. For some reason, I called him that day. Yeah. And I didn't even say who it was. Blah, blah, blah. I said, listen, I got this gig. What do you think? He wasn't working, so it's not like it was a conflict at all. I was like, what do you think about this? I used him as a sounding board. He goes, He goes, wasn't this the person you went out with where this thing happened, that thing happened? You were really miserable. You told me that. I said, yeah, you're right. He goes, it's not worth it. He goes, all you can see is the paycheck. He goes, but I'll tell you something, Xander. He goes, you're never going to see that money. I said, what do you mean? He goes, you're never going to finish that tour. Because you're either going to quit or you're going to get fired because you're not on the same page as that artist.
Right.
So that money's never going to come. And I was like, okay. And that's when I said, no, thank you.
Yeah, this is an interesting deal for me because now in my real life, I work in sales.
I want to hear all about this.
And so for me, I think what you said is spot on. Like nowadays, people are so eager to go get, and consume, that that gut instinct thing is like, okay, I know this is going to suck, but I'm going to do it anyway. And so for me, I have a bit of a different experience in that in my mind, what I've gotten to the point now is that I don't have to go, oh, I remember when I went out on tour with that person. It's this person's bringing me this kind of energy. And I've felt that kind of energy before. And so I already know what this is.
And I don't want to feel it again.
I already know. And for me, in my job, it's very much, how much are they going to pay me? Mm-hmm. Because unlike you, I can get to the bag, right? I get to the paycheck. But if it's not enough money, I know people in my line of work, hundreds of lines of work, that in the effort to make the deal, in the effort to get the thing, right? They'll jump through these crazy hoops, go through these headaches, go through these terrible experiences, and then you get the money on the end of it, and you're like, whoa, that wasn't worth it. For me, it's I'm only going to do that if the payoff is right. And sometimes the payoff is money, sometimes the payoff is other things.
Right.
But I think the difference for me is when I was much younger in my career, I would go through these things and it would beat the shit out of me. And I'd come out of it and go, oh, man. And even when I would get the big paycheck, it'd almost be like, man, fuck, that wasn't worth it.
Right.
But now where I'm at is when I go into it eyes wide open. I know this is going to suck. I know you're going to need too much from me. I know you're going to be unrealistic. I know you're going to be this, that, and that. Because I already have that knowledge and I go, at the end of this, I'm getting this big paycheck. Then it adds that perspective for me of, okay, I'm the one making the choice here.
Right.
I know you're going to be difficult. I know what the paycheck is. I know the whole game.
Right.
And so I'm never caught off guard by it. And I've certainly said no thank you to people where it's like, I know who you are and I know what the check's going to be at the end. And the journey I have to go on, the pot of gold isn't big enough. Right.
But then what I loved what you're saying, because now you hold yourself accountable.
Right.
And you respond instead of react.
Right.
So every time that they overstep their boundaries, you take that step, you say, oh, wait a minute. Remind yourself, knock on your head. I took this. Okay, how do I deal with this? I'm going to respond cautiously. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to plot out a logical explanation. I'm not going to react. I'm not going to let it get my blood pressure up, right?
I'm not going to expect you to be different. That's the big thing, right?
That's the catch.
I already know who you are.
I'm not going to expect you to be different.
You already told me who you are. You already told me.
Love it.
And even you didn't tell me, Michael. I worked with Xander 4 months ago, and you guys are the same person.
That's hilarious.
I already know who you are.
Right.
And if I don't expect you to be somebody different, if I don't expect the situation to be different, if it's coming at me, and I just go, yep, that's who you are. That's how you do this. When you're you, that's how you do it. Then suddenly you remove the expectation of change, and suddenly everything gets way more easier to accept.
Doesn't it, though?
Yeah. It's just like, okay, that's what it is.
So I always say that's brilliant. I love it. I always say that being a musician is involves a lot of sales techniques, right?
Yeah,
because
just about everything.
we have to. We're always knocking on doors that are getting slammed in our face.
Yep.
Most of the time, doors aren't even getting open. Like I'm going to go over to that door. You think that's a door? Well, told you that's a door.
Yeah.
No, it's a door. I know it's a door.
It was a door for him.
Yeah, right. And then all of a sudden, it's a freaking concrete wall.
Right.
So here's one thing I want to ask you: is sales. Okay, how do you deal with? What are some of the techniques that you use to deal with the fact that the door is not even a door when you thought it was a door? In other words, my biggest thing right now, communicate, respond, reply. Because when you don't reply, people assume the worst. Let's not make an ass out of you and me, and let's just fucking reply. Even if the reply, even if you think the reply is not in my favor and not what I want to hear, just tell me. Yeah. Just level up. And be like, you know what? I really appreciate the song you sent over. Thank you so much. We did ask for you to send some songs. And I appreciate the fact that you sent some over. However, at this point, we are not interested.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Instead of leaving me on the fucking hook for the next you see what I'm saying? That's one small example. So how do you deal with...
I got a response for that.
Please.
Their lack of response is their response.
I think that's a bunch of bullshit.
Listen.
I never do that to people.
No, I know that, but that's okay.
See, I'm getting past
Yeah, you are, but listen, that's okay. You have the ability to judge them, right?
Yeah.
And if you're unhappy with their etiquette, their responding or not responding,
back to what Baron said,
then you already know what you're dealing with.
That's right.
And then you can have your own internal cutoff as to, I'm moving on.
That's right.
This is not the way I would treat somebody.
You have to. Yeah.
That said, you also have to become familiar, like what the expectations are with a certain set of people or a certain group of people, right? Like there are some cities where everyone's on time and everyone's late here in this city or whatever.
LA is like that. They always push it a half hour earlier than when it actually starts.
Let's talk about audiences really quick, and I'll pass over to Baron. Let's talk about how you can be easily offended on stage, whether you're in a small local band or a big band, when you go to a place where nobody's clapping. They were going crazy in Wisconsin last night. What's wrong with these Canadians?
That's a great point.
What's wrong with the French or the Swiss or whatever?
That's right. They're
and
just
you
more
get all
reserved,
mad
but
and
they
you walk
love it.
off and
Yeah.
everything, and they say, "What are you talking about?" I have almost opened my mouth and really blown it as a lead singer, chastising, wanting to chastise an audience that's not responding the way I need them to respond,
Right.
only to not get around to it, walk off stage, and the promoter's like, "Wow, they were totally captivated by you guys," and I was like, "I thought they hated us."
Wow.
So as far
That's
as
good,
not
it's
getting
good,
back
it's
to
good,
you with
it's
your
good.
songs or whatever, and you
Yeah.
ask, you gotta sit there for a second and go.
You got to zoom out.
You gotta zoom out and see what it is. You don't always know, but you can't always know what's really going on the other side. You just gotta keep pushing forward. You know.
Yeah.
As much as I conduct my business with respond, reach out, reply, that I get it. Not everybody does. How do you deal with this in the sales concept?
So you're talking about something that is as old as sales itself.
Right.
And so one thing to understand is that there are people, as many people as you think love to say no,
Yeah.
not that many. Most people really don't like to tell you no. And especially, I feel like this is accelerating now because it used to be like a handful of people have this go-getter, never say die attitude. Well, now we've been bombarded with all these inspirational stories of people who just never gave up. And if you tell somebody no now, it's almost like, here's your green light to hammer me. Here's your green light to come after me.
That's a good one.
I've never wanted any door-to-door sales, just kill me, right?
Yeah,
Call me at dinner, leave me alone. If I say no, that's who you are, right? Yeah, I'm green lighting you to become that person. Now maybe you aren't that person, but overwhelmingly now, that's the response, because I don't take the first no. And in sales, we're taught, don't take the first no, right? But a couple of key things. What you're actually talking about is turning a no into a yes and turning a non-response into a no.
I like that.
So one of the biggest things I've come to is one of my favorite sayings in sales is, some will, some won't, so what next, right? Some will, some won't, so what next, right? Okay, fine. We're not a good fit. Cool.
Yeah,
I'm just going to move on
it.
because I'm going to go get somebody else. And in this way, I think sales is a lot like trying to pick somebody up at a bar, right? If I walk up and all I'm doing is talking to you, all I'm doing is buying you drinks, I'm trying to keep people away from, it's got that stink of desperation to it, right? And how many times has that ever gone well for anybody?
Right.
I guarantee you didn't find your wife that way, right? So you can't be that guy, right? But you also, in my world, I have to get a no. I have to.
To close the account,
I
quote
have
unquote?
to. Yeah. Okay, that's not happening. I can write that off. Nobody's going to ask me any questions. So the biggest thing for me
look at
is
that.
I got to give them permission to say no.
Right.
Right. And so for me, a lot of
Agreed.
what I do is say, hey, listen, it's been a while since we talked. I sent you this information. I'm not sure if you have other questions. Maybe we're just not a good fit.
Right.
Right? Maybe we're just not a good fit is one of the best statements ever, because
Love it.
think it doesn't, if you're dealing with somebody who's volatile, right? Doesn't provoke them. It doesn't mean you're a bad person, Michael. Doesn't mean I'm a bad person. We just don't fit. We just don't fit. That's all. Nobody's hurt there.
Yeah.
like
You know what? It's hard not to take your music personally.
Yeah.
But you can't take it personally.
And
I don't.
that's to me
I
is
don't.
where I think it would get really difficult to invest so much of your soul and yourself into something.
But here's and the example I used was a musical example. But let's talk about logistics. Hey, is sound check still is lobby call still at 4 a.m. or has been pushed back? Because I heard the artist mentioned something. Crickets.
Yeah.
Okay, come on now, people.
Right.
Fucking respond. It could be something as small as that, or as big as your music. But absolutely, the music you cannot take
And
personal.
now you know why I spend less time playing guitar
and more time tour managing.
more time managing.
Principles and methods, baby, right here by Xander Smith.
I just couldn't wait around for that answer any longer. So I needed to be the one making and giving the answer.
I love
Yeah,
it.
I think for me it's always just hey, this is no big deal.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
If you tell me no, no big deal. The real
Right.
trick is...
That's how I am. I'd rather you tell me no than string me along.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
You tell me no and we'll still go have a beer and chill. Like, I'm cool.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
people have a hard time. But let me,
But
for
you have
anyone
to give them
that's
permission to say no.
listen,
Yeah, I
I've
like
heard
that.
no
I like
before.
that.
It's not a big deal.
I like that.
Happens all the time.
Bro, you're not upsetting me. Let's
people are afraid of no because no they think means confrontation. I want to say for anyone that's listening right now that if you could see us right now, I just realized that we are represented by we have you on the East Coast.
Yeah.
We have the exact midpoint.
Oh yeah, Missouri.
And we have the Santa Monica boy right here.
Look
I
at
mean,
that.
New York,
1, 2,
LA,
3.
and Missouri. I mean, wow.
East Midwest.
It's like you planned this. We are a real focus group.
No, I have to say, Baron planned it because he's the one who orchestrated.
Well, of course
this.
he is.
And you're not even a musician, but you orchestrated it. Come on, that was good.
There we go. All right, that's good.
All right, so check it out. Moving right along, we're gonna wrap this up. As a guitarist or a solo actor, you played, recorded, and written with Daniel. How do you say that?
Danielle Brisbois.
Brisbois, French artist.
No, American. She was Annie on Broadway. She was also in Archie Bunker's. Remember the spin-off from All in the Family? She was the little girl.
I do remember that.
She got signed by Sony in the early 90s. Her boyfriend at the time was New Radicals, Greg Alexander.
Wow, look at that.
Who worked a deal where he did her record and his record for the same record deal.
Bam.
She did real well in Europe, so that was my first sideman gig. I went to
Love that.
Europe with her.
Linda Perry,
Linda Perry.
big songwriter.
Yeah.
You wrote with her?
I did.
Amazing.
I fronted I used to have a band. Club Makeup was a monthly all-star band at the El Rey from 99 to 2002. And she fronted us. We did 21st Century Zeppelin.
Nice.
And we did, she was the singer, Bill Ward from Black Sabbath on drums, and Kenny Aronoff, The Cult.
I love Kenny.
Yeah, so a bunch of people came through there. She was one of them.
Then you got the Runaways, Dee Dee Ramone, Adam Lambert, William Belly, Steve Perry, George Lynch, New Order, Lisa Loeb, and Herb Alpert.
All over the place, right?
I love the diversity.
Yeah.
I really do. So, okay. Really, this has been amazing. Thank you for sharing both of you. And I love tying in all of these more philosophical, concepts and, the paradigms and all these things. Okay, so moving right along. Last thing, we're going to end with this. Rapid fire fun. Favorite food, and you can both answer. Or we can make this, you know what? We could raise the stakes. How well do you really know each other?
Oh, boy. you should get my wife over here. She's the only one that really knows anything about me.
I would say you can answer for one another, or you could just answer it, whatever. All right, you ready? You're ready. Favorite food?
Spaghetti bolognese.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, I cook. I make a lot of food.
Yeah.
So
I remember that. You
my
introduced me.
answer could always be something anything that I find that's new that I'm excited about.
Favorite food to cook, perhaps.
Ooh,
something that you say, you know what, your go-to.
Oh, my go-to is spaghetti bolognese. I swear to God, I can make that in my sleep.
There you go.
Listen, the only reason I
years old.
said that is because on the road, that's all I'll eat because I don't trust food. I don't eat Japanese food in Japan.
Yeah.
No way.
It's really tough.
But I'll eat it in
You
Culver
have
City.
to.
No, it's
I was just in Japan in
moving.
October. It was awesome.
Scary.
All right, favorite libation, or are we just drinking like flat water, sparkling water? What are we doing?
Yeah, I'm a Pepsi guy.
Okay.
I'm just Pepsi.
Ooh, Pepsi. I used to
Yeah.
love Pepsi growing up.
I'm pretty addicted to sparkling water. It's
Okay.
gotten to become a problem.
That's good. I like that. And they say it satiates like that craving when you want something sweet or something.
Yeah.
It kind of fills you up a little bit. All right. Favorite sport? Oh, we don't have to ask Baron that.
Yeah, he's dressed as a
Cardinal-
cardinal.
as a
And
cardinal.
we're not talking about the football franchise either.
So for you, it's baseball.
Yeah.
Do you have a
Going
favorite
away.
sport, Xander?
Yeah, I'd have to say basketball
Oh, okay.
from when I was a kid.
Okay. How do you spend your free time, assuming you have any?
Trying to take my kid around town and get along with the family.
That's fun.
Yeah, I got 3 kids. I don't even know what free time is.
Yeah. That is the best answer. What activities do you do on long flights?
I like to watch really bad movies.
I will always go to the bookstore and get like price gouged on a paperback book.
Oh, really?
And I'll just read a book.
And you'll read that?
That's
on
nice.
a trip, read a book. If I don't finish it, forget
okay.
it.
That's
Once I
good.
get home, I got back
You're
into
done.
the 3 kids and
Do
the
you-
hectic. And
Do you fall
know.
asleep when you read, or are you able to stay up to get the read in?
No, I mean, I
Good for you.
I go. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Look at you. Yeah, I'm watching movies that no one will watch with me. Like I'm gonna watch Wonder Woman by myself.
Oh
on
yeah,
a
there
plane.
you go. There you go. Yeah. Okay. I love that. All right. I got to save this one for the end because I know you both will have long answers. Favorite TV show or movie that you're currently streaming or watching? Doesn't have to be favorite. Just something you're really into at the moment.
I'm in this weird pigeonhole right now where I'm watching a lot of music documentaries on Amazon.
Love that.
And
There's a million of them.
Oh,
So
yeah,
cool.
we're always watching them.
Yeah.
So many of them. I just watched on Netflix. I just watched Echo in the Canyon,
Oh, yes.
which is
I was talking about
unreal.
that with somebody
Which,
else.
if you don't grow up in Los Angeles, like a lot of this stuff, like I never knew this stuff.
That's a good
So it's
schooling.
like,
Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah.
Sure.
How about you, Zen?
I'm watching what everyone else is watching.
Okay.
I mean, I watched Jack Ryan last night.
Jack, oh, what a great series.
Right,
I
yeah.
binged that thing
Yeah.
over the holidays. I was like, you know what? It's the holidays. I'm binging Jack
I'm just
Ryan.
so glad I don't have to watch Hunt for Red October for the 1300th time.
Why?
Because I'm just not going to get better than that or The Fugitive. You know what I mean? So
okay.
I finally,
I see
this
what
is
you're
kind
saying.
of like my methadone for those movies.
I see.
The character's still alive.
And do either of you shop online, brick and mortar? Do you care?
Brick and mortar, I don't buy anything online.
I love
buy
brick and mortar.
everything online.
See?
Yeah.
I
gotta
try.
see it.
I really try to buy brick and mortar.
Yeah.
I really do
to
try.
support our communities. Yeah.
Well,
I enjoy it.
Yeah,
I
it's
actually
true.
enjoy
Yeah,
going
yeah.
and touching things and talking to the person that owns the store.
Hey, wait a minute. I didn't ask about your personal life.
I'm a little more catastrophic. I feel like especially
Talking sweaters here.
Yeah, I feel like especially online marketplace
Yeah.
is like really eroding
Oh, it's
the
crazy.
middle class of America. In a
I
way that, like,
so agree with that.
it's just terrible. Yeah,
I so agree with that.
I try to buy local, try to buy brick and mortar, try to buy local.
Love it. Okay, so I can ask you dream collaborations, Xander, but you've already had quite a few amazing collaborations. Either one of you, if Baron, if you were a career musician, all of a sudden, who would you want to collaborate with?
I mean,
You get a chance to do a song with somebody. Who would it be?
well, I mean, I know for sure I want John Paul Jones in that band.
Nice.
Yeah, 100% want
Now,
that
for the
guy.
listeners who don't know who John
Yeah.
Paul Jones is,
Bassist, arranger, every Led Zeppelin,
Mm-hmm.
like non-drum, non-guitar, non-vocal, every instrument you ever heard, John Paul Jones was the one playing it.
he was crushing
The
it.
keys,
There you go.
whatever it
There you
was,
go.
he's the guy playing it.
I love it.
So yeah, definitely him. I'm a big Stevie Ray Vaughan fan.
Ooh,
I think that the stuff that he did was just. I think we really lost something when we lost. I think
So
I think
agree.
his best
So
music
agree.
was still coming. Is
Yeah.
my opinion.
We went down a wormhole once, me and my wife. She's a big John Mayer fan. And
Yeah.
she brought
Oh,
me
yeah.
in. I was really not paying much attention. She's like, no, you got to give him another
Yeah.
look. And then that led us to Stevie Ray
Yeah.
Vaughan.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was like, all right, well, listen,
Yeah,
you want to
that's like
play
a whole
this.
nother-
Let's go on
yeah.
YouTube and let
Yeah.
me show you. And we were both mesmerized.
And then
Good. I'm glad you brought that to the table when she brought. Yeah.
And then I think I'm a drums guy. Like,
All right, so you're giving me 3 collaborations now because it's your third one.
I'm not the musician. I'm trying to put together the
He's
band.
putting the band
Oh, I
together.
like it. You're putting the band together. I'm totally messing with
and
you.
I want to put Dave Grohl on the drum.
I love Dave Grohl.
'Cause
You know what I love about Dave Grohl? He seems like a nice guy.
He is a nice guy.
Yeah, he just seems like a nice guy.
Nice guy. And I'll also add this. Like I mean, unpopular opinion right here, maybe. I really think the Foo Fighters are the last great rock band.
Why is that unpopular? I think you're right. I think that's an accurate statement.
Recognize that, but I mean,
think that's a very accurate statement.
As good as he is as a frontman,
He's
which
ridiculous.
I've seen him live several times,
Yeah.
like, and everybody's heard the story. He played with a broken foot, like
Right,
all this
right.
shit. But when you watch him play the drums, it's like,
Yeah,
holy
yeah.
cow.
Yeah.
Sure.
Holy cow. Yeah.
All right,
He's got
so
a strong voice, too. People-
he does.
He's a great frontman.
he's a great
God.
songwriter, and his tone and everything is just amazing. All right, so if you were a musician, Baron, what instrument would you play?
The drums.
The
No
drums,
question
done.
about it. Yeah, and I've like tinkered around.
I like it.
But
Okay.
I'm not like.
Hey,
you know,
it's never too late, man. You can and music is therapeutic. So
that's what it is for me.
get a drum set. Your kids are gonna destroy it and have fun.
You know what? I'll tell you what.
Keep
I
you up all
honestly
night.
do. And this is crazy therapy. I put on my headphones. I go into it. I go rent a studio where they already have the drum kit. All you got to do is bring the sticks.
Oh, good for you.
I go put it, and I just
good for you.
play
You
along.
go nuts.
I don't care what you think. I don't care what they heard.
That's
I don't
good.
Care. I just go.
How often do you do that? Probably not enough.
As much as I used to.
You should do that more often,
But I do
bro.
try to do it periodically.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And Xander, if you weren't a career musician, what would you be?
I would be sitting on the beach.
What? But if you had to work.
Oh, I've already
Assuming.
got this planned out.
Okay.
It's already happening. So this is my dream job. You ready?
Okay. I can't wait.
It's changed a little bit now that I got the family, but I think I could probably get them on board with this. All I want to do is buy about, I think I need 6 feet. I might need 8 feet wide space on Venice Boardwalk. Okay. All I need is that. And I need an ice machine, like a shave ice.
Yeah.
Or like, and I just going to get a boom box. I'm just going to put on Bob Marley, and I'm just going to make snow cones all day long.
I love it.
And make, 1,000% profit on every snow cone. And I'm just going to sit there, shorts, sandals.
Chilling.
People come up, hey, blah, blah, we bullshit, like we are right now. And these are the questions that come up. So wow, I thought I asked for raspberry. This is raspberry. Raspberry is blue? Yeah, did you know that? Isn't that weird that raspberry is actually blue?
I did not know that.
That'll be 50 cents.
I love it. All right, I got to ask you both this, but I have to limit you. You cannot give me a dissertation on this question, all right? Each of you.
I gotta go pick up the kid. We're going to the mall.
Okay. The last song or band that you listen to that just get you going. Most recent artist, band, song that you've listened to that you're like, oh man, I love this band, this person, this artist.
Most recent thing that I've
something
heard.
Something that's floating your boat.
Wow.
Well, I can't give it oh my God, you guys got to hear these guys. It's transformative.
And for you, let me say that you're not working with.
Yeah.
As a musician that you're not working with. So if it was Stevie Ray Vaughan, then that would be a solid answer.
Right, sure. Well, listen, the last deep dive I got into, honestly, was John Mayer.
Okay.
Because I had shut down to John Mayer.
I love John, too. John's dope.
That happens to me a lot. And unfortunately, I don't want to be aged out, but I'm like, they're doing this other.
Well, because you're a musician, so you recognize all of the little intricacies and tools they're using. You're like, oh yeah, I can reverse engineer that right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I found that I had underestimated John Mayer. The guy's
he's really
talented,
very talented songwriter.
We just went and saw him a few months ago, and as far as singing and playing at the same time and jumping around.
That's what I was talking about.
And you know what? He grew up, and he's actually now as a front man.
Yeah.
He's authentic. He's
good,
a nice guy up there. He's like, I know, I get it. I used to be whatever.
Yeah.
Let's play some music to have a good time. So I really, really enjoy getting turned on to his stuff.
That's good.
Heard his song for the first time last night, just because I was listening to satellite radio, and they said, well, remember that one song? They were talking about husbands and wives that stay together in the music business, which is rare.
Yeah.
And then the DJ was like, oh, yeah, what about that band, the Weepies? Never heard of them.
Wow.
Have no idea what you're talking about. And as I was in the car, at the stoplight, I typed in the Weepies. I heard the song. It's just a guy and a girl singing harmonies. And I was like,
awesome.
It was a 2-minute song, and I was like, okay, that's pretty great.
I love that. Perfect.
Yeah.
Baron?
So I'll give you two recent artists. And mine isn't necessarily as much musical kind of thing. I really dig Lizzo.
Oh, my wife Lola loves Lizzo. She's so dope.
Here's why I dig Lizzo. She is who she is.
She is.
She does
Unapologetically.
not fit, right? She does not fit.
Yeah.
If you look at her, you go, you are not a star, right?
Yeah.
Society today says
society's culture has done that. Yes,
that's what I'm talking about. Says you're not a star, and she says, "Oh yeah, I am." And here's how. And by the way, I'm not going to apologize. I'm not going to wear frumpy clothes.
That's right.
I know what my body is. I don't care what you think. I'm going to be me. And
I'm going to do a flute solo.
And I'm going to do a flute solo, right? Like, not only am I doing this, I'm also like a crazy flautist, right?
I love it.
But I will tell you this: the last real serious deep dive I did, I watched I watched a thing on the Allman Brothers, and I'm from the Midwest, so like the Allman Brothers are like heavy rotation, even to this day.
Right.
Like, go to the Midwest, you're gonna hear, midnight sooner or later it's coming, right?
Yeah.
But I really went down the wormhole and really got into like Greg Allman, and because the way that went down, Greg Allman's like immortalized, but I mean, Duane Allman's got a crazy story.
Sure.
And, blues background musician, like a lot of people, they said that they called him like the greatest white blues vocalist ever.
Wow.
And when you listen to him, you're like, Yeah, and that band's got a crazy story.
That's so cool.
What happened to the Allman Brothers after Duane dies, or after Greg dies, is just unreal. Unreal.
Amazing.
2 documentaries on Amazon Prime, both well worth the watch.
Oh, great.
Love it.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, this has been an awesome
We're going to come
discussion.
back and we're going to drill you about the East Coast.
Yeah.
I want to New York. We want to find out the truth. We know it's more than just pizza, Bruce, and John Bon Jovi. Okay, we
Man,
know.
No, you summed it up pretty well, man. Of course, you got the Goombas. I'm half Goomba.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. And,
Philly versus New Jersey.
and wait,
Shouldn't
and don't-
Philadelphia be in New Jersey?
Don't forget though, he's Long Island.
Yeah,
So we have to
yeah.
talk
I was
about
Like, we let's say Strong Island.
Sir
Sir-
Billy
yeah,
Joel.
Billy
Sir Billy
Joel.
Joel.
Yeah.
When people
Yeah.
say Elton or Billy, I say, shut up, don't ever talk to me.
Yeah,
again.
yeah,
If
right.
you have to ask, you don't know.
So my girlfriend, real
And don't
quick,
forget,
it's
Eddie
Billy.
Murphy's from
Yeah,
Long
yeah.
Island.
we're on the way out, but
Oh,
I will
yeah,
tell you this:
sweet.
I love to annoy my girlfriend, who's also from Long Island, and
that's
so
right.
I refer to Billy Joel as the American Elton John. She hates it. She hates it.
See?
She
That's
hates it.
just not fair.
Yeah.
Look, I like them both. They're both amazing songwriters and performers, but, of course, my affinity for Billy,
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm a fan. Don't worry.
Me too. Me too. Yeah, 100%.
Xander Smith, thank you for driving over the hill to get over here from the west side.
No, thank you. Thank me for driving back.
Over the hill, because now it's going
Right
to really
now.
count. Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you for both, here and back.
You're so welcome. It was
Thank you,
worth it.
Baron Grafft, for orchestrating this. Even though you're not technically in music, you still are orchestrating your ass off. I love it. Thank you so much for connecting the dots.
You're the Clive Davis in this situation.
Yeah, there you go. See? So you are a career musician. No, and I really do believe that whole shtick about sales and music being...
This is the Career Musician Podcast with your host, Nomad.
Your value is not determined by the gig. Learn more by listening to the Career Musician Podcast, streaming everywhere.
Hi, I'm Catherine Wood, studio owner, engineer, producer, and you're listening to the Career Musician Podcast with my old pal, Nomad.
Hi, I'm producer Eric G, and you're listening to the Career Musician Podcast with my buddy Nomad.
Hi everyone, this is Brian Spawn, owner of Spawn Drums and Simtech Cymbals. You're listening to Nomad, the Career Musician. Words of wisdom here, folks, so listen up.
I'm just a nomad, nowhere man, writing the songs in this one-man band. A nomad, yeah, I'm a nomad, So hush now, darling, you'll be fine. I'll be back this way sometime. Until then, baby, don't you cry. 'Cause I'll be gone.
Hey, this is Nomad, host and creator of the Career Musician Podcast, and I am thoroughly stoked to be an official member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Pantheon Podcast Network is the first of its kind as an all-music-based podcast collective. Please be sure to check us out at pantheonpodcast.com for more info.